Hi guys, welcome back to Diamond Dave's Billiards. After I posted the video the other day talking about the fact that I think even beginners should experiment with playing with extreme amounts of side, because it helps giving you a baseline of when you do need to play those shots. It gives you extra data points for your little billiards calculator to work with. Someone posted a reply on that video talking about the fact that they prefer playing shots at pocket pace or slowly with side because they have a slight fear of having to play shots firmly with outside in order to gain a similar position. So what I took that to mean was, and if this person sees this video, they can feel free to correct me, but I took that to mean something like this, where, for example, you're playing the one, and you want to keep the cue ball above the two. If you just play it with plain ball at pocket pace, then you lose the cue ball towards the two. You're left with a very difficult shot. So I believe this player was saying that they would prefer to play, they want to play the pot slowly, they don't want to play it firmly, and rather than play it firmly with bottom, they would prefer to use outside English or check to try and keep the cue ball above the two. Okay, something like that. Now they've got a much easier shot on the two, they're slightly above it, so they would prefer to play that as opposed to playing it with bottom with a bit more pace to either a little bit more pace to keep it on this side or a bit more pace to keep it to go to the other side. So a similar kind of shot played with a bit more pace and bottom on the cue ball. And a bit more pace again, keeping the same line, but it's about their preference for keeping that line off the cushion with a slow pace and right-hand side as opposed to keeping the line with more pace and a little bit of bottom. Because they are afraid of playing the shot with more pace. Now, I've got no problem with choosing a shot. Sorry, I'm not sure where I'm in the camera frame or not. I have no problem with choosing to play a shot one way because you're slightly more comfortable than the alternative, but choosing to play a shot one way because you're afraid of the alternative is really damaging to your game. And I think if you're afraid of the alternative and you know you're afraid of the alternative, then you need to practice the alternative as soon as possible and remove the fear, because fear is one of a pool player's biggest demons. It can lead to problems in our technical execution, it can cloud our thinking, lead to poor decision making, deceleration of the cue. Fear can lead to the dark side as well, and you know, the last thing you want is to become a Sith. So, you know, you really need to, if you know that you're afraid of one shot, then you need to practice that shot to remove the fear. I'm sure we've all experienced, for whatever reason, we've taken one shot and we've practiced it for 10 minutes. And then the next time we're playing a match, that particular shot happens to come up in the game. And we suddenly have this massive burst of confidence because we know how this shot plays. We know all the ways to approach it because we practiced it for 10 minutes on the table. And that's kind of really how we want to feel on every shot. In a perfect world, we want to have that extreme confidence because we know all the variables, we know the different ways we can play the shot, and we have confidence in ourselves to play the shots. Okay, so the other thing that can cause problems with that is that, sorry, I was just thinking after that last part, that it's not just about not having the confidence, but sometimes, the fear is not just about losing confidence in playing a shot. Sometimes you don't have a choice. For example, if you want to move the cue ball across the table a couple of times, but stay above the two, then that shot with right-hand side, when it's played softly, it's enough to keep the cue ball up and above the two on this side. But when you play it at pace, it kills the pace of the cue ball, and it's not going to give you the result you want in terms of confidently coming across the table. So, you know, I'll play that similar kind of shot, but this time with a bit more pace to try and move the cue ball a lot. Okay, you see, at pace, you don't get a similar result. Even if I play it with even more right-hand side, you see how the cue ball just dies. You're not getting that movement because the cue ball's not sliding when it hits the object ball. The right hand side takes the pace out of the cue ball as it hits the cushion. If I play that same shot with a similar amount of pace, but with just below center with a little bit of bottom, just to keep the cue ball in the same angle as it comes off the cushion, you'll see quite a different result. Okay, so sometimes the way you're comfortable playing a shot just doesn't give you the result you need. So not only does practicing the alternatives, not only does practicing the alternatives gives you confidence, but it also opens up the variety of shots you can play, because sometimes the comfortable way just won't do the job, okay? So if you're avoiding shots, if you have a preference for one shot because you're slightly more comfortable, no worries. But if you're avoiding shots because you're afraid of them, then you need to practice those shots as soon as possible, because fear is the worst thing to come into your temperament or into your mind when you're playing a game of pool. The absolute worst. Okay, so practice to get rid of that fear. Next time you play, if there's a shot you come up and you think, oh, I'd love to play it that way, but I'm really afraid of doing it, make a note of it, get on the practice table, practice it until the fear is gone. Okay? All right, guys, thanks for listening. I hope that helped, and I'll see you next time. Ciao.